Welcome to Nordic Wealth. If you've ever felt completely buried by the sheer volume of news, charts, and financial opinions thrown at you every single day, well, you're definitely not alone. It's overwhelming. But today, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to build a customized, professional-grade information engine from the ground up, and we'll be using the exact same sources the pros use. Let's get right into it. We are literally starving for actual insight while simultaneously drowning in data. It's crazy, right? And it prompts a pretty crucial question. Where do the experts actually find their data? Because when top-tier analysts need the facts, I promise you, they don't just scroll through social media rumors. They go straight to the source. So here's the roadmap for our pipeline today. We've got 5 distinct phases to cover. First, the global macro foundation. Second, real-time market intelligence. Then, the daily news ecosystem, followed by AI and academic synthesis, and finally, visualizing and presentation.
Starting things off with Phase 1, the Global Macro Foundation. Look, before you can even begin to understand a single stock, you absolutely have to understand the environment it operates in. It's like checking the weather before you build a house. Institutions like the World Bank, the IMF, the OECD, and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they act as the bedrock for all of this. Just to put that into perspective, when the BLS releases its monthly inflation numbers, that single data point can instantly move trillions of dollars in the market. It's wild. This is the raw, unfiltered macroeconomic data that sets the entire stage.
Moving on to Phase 2, real-time market intelligence.
Okay, so once we have that massive macroeconomic foundation built, we need to zoom in. Think about the difference here. Macro data gives us this sweeping, long-term structural view of the global economy. Market data, on the other hand, is the immediate, real-time, second-by-second action of the trading floor. Basically, if the macro tells you the overall climate, the market data tells you whether or not it's raining right now, today.
And to track this ground-level intelligence, professionals are relying on primary exchanges. Places like the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. But let's be honest, raw exchange data can be an absolute headache to read. It's mostly just numbers flashing on a screen. That's exactly why the pros pair it up with dynamic tracking tools like TradingView or Yahoo Finance. This lets them map out the price action visually and spot technical trends in real time.
Which brings us to Phase 3, the daily news ecosystem.
Because here's the thing, raw numbers and blinking green and red lights mean very little without context, right? A stock might drop 10% in a single minute, but a chart isn't going to tell you why it happened. That's where heavyweights like Reuters, Bloomberg, CNBC, and Forbes step in. They act as the neutral conduits, providing that absolutely crucial why behind the numbers. By interviewing CEOs and framing the narrative, they help us actually understand the real-world impact of those price swings.
All right, let's look at Phase 4. AI and academic synthesis. So you've gathered all this data, but that's really only half the battle. There's a great saying for this. The true challenge is not gathering data, but synthesizing it into actionable wisdom. Anyone can open Yahoo Finance or click on a Forbes article. Transforming that giant mountain of raw information into actual, usable insight, that is exactly what separates the noise from the signal. So how do we actually pull off this synthesis? First, you look for peer-reviewed rigor. The professional pipeline leans heavily on elite institutions, places like Harvard Business School, MIT, and Stanford. You see, when the daily news cycle becomes way too reactionary and chaotic, tapping into deep-dive academic research provides a grounded, scientifically backed anchor for your entire strategy.
But let's be real for a second. Reading 100-page academic papers takes a kind of time most of us just do not have. That's why modern analysts utilize the latest AI tools from companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Microsoft to seriously accelerate this process. You can literally feed a massive OECD report or even a whole week's worth of Reuters articles right into a large language model and extract the core patterns in seconds. AI is just the ultimate accelerator here.
And finally, Phase 5, visualizing and presentation. Think about it. If you can't explain your findings clearly, all that intense research you just did was pretty much for nothing. Translating complex global statistics into clean visuals is an absolute must, and platforms like Statista and Our World in Data handle this effortlessly. Instead of handing someone a dense, boring spreadsheet full of World Bank data, you generate a beautiful, intuitive chart. It's all about making the incredibly complex feel incredibly simple.
And it really doesn't stop at just charts. To keep audiences fully engaged, modern creators are relying on professional B-roll video libraries, stuff like Pexels, Pixabay, Mixkit, and Vidivo. By combining those hard analytical charts with dynamic, royalty-free visuals, you ensure that whether you're presenting in a corporate boardroom or creating digital content online, your audience stays absolutely glued to the screen.
This entire stack we've just walked through, this is exactly what empowers platforms like Nordic Wealth to deliver high-level financial intelligence. We aren't just pulling opinions out of thin air here. These insights are the culmination of this exact pipeline, from raw macro data to AI synthesis, straight through to compelling presentation.
So, as we wrap this up, you now hold the exact same information pipeline used by the pros. You know where the foundational data lives, you know how to track the markets, and you know how to synthesize and present it all beautifully. The engine is fully built. So my final question to you is this: what world-changing trend will you uncover first? It's completely up to you to turn the key. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.